Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Review Wellness Podcast. I'm your co-host, Reed Hammond, and this is
Sierra Meacham.
Today, we're going to be talking about medical versus movement pain. How do we differentiate those two things? Why it's important to differentiate those things, and just kind of give you some more context surrounding the topic as a whole. So, Sierra, would you like to kick us off? Just kind of give us a working definition to move forward with.
Yeah. So I want to nuance the two because a lot of times people will think, oh, this thing, I twinged this thing or this thing kind of started slowly hurting. And a lot of times our mind jumps to, oh, I need a doctor to fix this. And sometimes that is the case, but most of us have more access to resolve these things than we realize. A lot of times movement could be the issue. Not all the time, but medical is. It's something that you're going to need to go to a doctor to. It might be a chiropractor or a physical therapist or even actually a doctor is going to be able to prescribe medication. So I want to focus on the movement pain today, and that is something that we work a lot with people on. And just this idea that it almost always comes down to an issue of mobility, strength, or motor control being your ability to move properly.
Yeah. So we can start by saying, like, these are the things to look for. This is how you classify movement pain. You know, what you just said, right? How can we sharply differentiate this, I guess, is my next question. Like, correct me if I'm wrong here. Would it make sense to say, for example, the medical pain tends to be more acute, kind of in the moment? There's more of a direct cause to it, whereas the movement pain might just be your general quality of life dips. Your lower back is stiff. There's not necessarily a reason it's stiff, but that's your mobility pain, right? As opposed to you were playing soccer and you stepped in you injured a divot in the field, or something like that. Would that be a good way to start by, like, just clear differentiations there?
Maybe. I mean, sometimes, like, I did a lunge the other week and, like, I felt a twinge in my knee. I've been kind of working it and trying to move it more. I don't feel like that's something that's medical. I think I just moved a little bit wonky and it tweaked. So sometimes, yes, it's like, okay, I got injured while playing this sport and a doctor might be the solution. Maybe you tore something. Like, okay, you gotta have probably surgery. But if it's more minimal and the more you move it, the better it gets, it's probably a movement issue.
I mean, is there a rule then, or is it kind of just case by case? Like, let's say, for example, your lunge, for example. How do you know in any given case, and maybe there's not like a single set rule here, when you do your lunge, boom, my knee hurts now. How can you tell whether or not the lunge has caused something to go wrong in your knee and create an actual problem, or if it's just that your knee had some mobility pain and now you're kind of brushing up against that with the lunge movement? How do you differentiate those?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing to keep in mind with if we're dealing with more medical pain, you're probably going to have it'll be more intense sharpness. You may get numbness or tingling. And does more movement make it worse? Or does it stay about the same and maybe slowly start getting better? If that answers your question, kind of. There's not really like a hard and set
That's
rule
more so
to
what I was
it.
getting back. So it's kind of it's a case by case. It's a contextual kind of thing.
Yeah. And so I guess that's like talking moment of injury, like something actually happens. But a lot of times there's just like this progressive, like I woke up and suddenly
that's
this
way more
is
common.
bugging me. So to kind of break down, like I do want to break down briefly just what you can do to try and figure out, am I limited in my flexibility? Am I limited in my strength in any way or the motor control? We do a movement screen here. So you can't necessarily go do that whole movement screen on your own, but something super simple is like, if you lock out your knees all the way, can you reach down and touch the floor?
Some simple stuff,
A pretty basic test that, like, if you can't do that, you might be overcompensating in your back, and now long-term might cause an actual injury with your back and not just stiffness. Another good one, you can lay flat on your back on the floor, face up, and arms straight,
Okay.
and just
I'm working this out in my head.
reach your arms over your head towards the floor, keeping your elbows locked out. Can you get your hands all the way to the ground with your low back not lifting off of the ground? That's going to look at your shoulder flexibility.
So what's the best solution here then for these kind of mobility pains? I mean, I know there's a lot of different schools of thought, some of them with more or less scientific backing. So I'm curious to hear what you have to say. It's this idea of passive versus active recovery a lot of time. These are the kind of two big competing ideas in this field, I feel like, where my knee is bothering me. Is it better that I stop doing things completely, or should I do more things, or should I do less things but still move it? Where do we land on this? Is it another contextual thing, or is there kind of more of a steady state kind of rule of thumb that we can apply here?
It's very, very rarely that I would tell somebody to stop moving.
Okay,
Unless you had like some significant trauma happen that you need that area to
sure.
not move to heal. Movement is almost always going to be more encouraged.
I would say that's kind of been my experience as well, honestly, where it is just a matter of usually you don't want to just completely neglect any kind of specific area on your body in any in any context. So a lot of the times, especially in the context of hypertrophy training, sorry, I have to bring it up again. What that looks like is scaling back your volume or intensity on a given movement. If I hurt my bicep, I'm not going to be, going super heavy on bicep movements, right? We scale back the volume and intensity and get some active recovery in and focus on other things in the meantime that might be able to support my day-to-day movements better.
This just popped in my head. Another thing that's good to look for with the flexibility is really basic thing. Can you lock out your joints all the way? I see this on a lot of people. Like they do a push up and they can't get full lockout of the elbows.
Even in some of the movement screen tests I do, that's huge when people are just trying to move their arms more. And it's surprising because you don't realize until you're trying to get the straight arm.
Yep. Or like if you sit flat on the floor and you put your legs up on like a foam roller or something, just elevate them slightly. Sure. Can you lock out your knees all the way? Some people can't do that. We see a lot of people who say, I feel tight, and then their movement screen is totally full. And it's like, you're probably...
what you'd expect is not.
Yeah. You're probably overcompensating.
But I'll say this, generally speaking, a movement screen reveals things you didn't expect most of the time.
Yeah.
People come in overconfident. People come in with no confidence. People come in with no hope of change. I mean, we warm them up a little bit, and suddenly they're performing better. A movement screen, or at least having some of these simple exercises like the toe touch to have as reference points, can be a great way to gauge where
objectively.
Yeah, even like if you want to go down to the nitty gritty and start measuring, like I'm 2 inches from the floor. Now you can see literally on paper where the limitation is.
Yeah, and then I guess the next one being strength and then motor control, which this one's a little hard to differentiate sometimes. Because you could do a squat and the knee caves in slightly and you could think like, oh, is this a strength issue because I don't have the strength to keep my knee out? Or do you just have poor control?
So, I mean, yeah, sometimes it's both too.
Over that extra, yeah. So those I'd almost say intertwine.
It's been a lot of stuff I've seen as well is where having more strength gives you the agency to apply more technical control over your body. You can make your body do more stuff when it's stronger. So I do see that they actually kind of overlap a lot, although sometimes in the moment when it is like unfamiliarity, especially people new to training, I feel like especially, it's kind of hard to gauge whether or not they're just not strong enough to do this yet, or they literally have no idea what they're doing, and it's just a matter of now they have to learn the technique before they can perform this.
Yeah, so I guess the baseline for most people is to make sure that you understand what is proper movement. And sometimes YouTube is great. That can teach you a lot, but sometimes it's also helpful to have someone else showing you.
Maybe we've actually jumped the gun a little bit here. Why does it even matter? What's the importance of knowing the difference between these things? Why does it matter that we can say like, oh yeah, that's a mobility pain? What does that do for us at this point, knowing that it's that?
It helps you not waste time in the gym. Like people think I need to stretch every day just because I'm getting old.
Sure.
Why do you why do you need to stretch? You're very flexible. You're weak in your ability to move this side of your body.
Sure.
And stretching is not going to make you stronger in that side. Because personally, I don't like to stretch, and I don't do a whole lot of it because I don't need to, because I'm pretty flexible.
Yeah, and I would also just say, like, understanding that a lot of the issues you have are probably like kind of movement pains as opposed to medical pains. Kind of helps. I mean, I know we've talked about this several times already on previous episodes, but it's kind of it should incentivize you to start moving and start going to the gym. Like, these aren't things that you need medical solutions for.
Yeah.
Having the ability to say, my knee hurts, but that's not a medical pain. I don't need surgery for that. What I need to do is start a resistance training routine.
It's not always the first thought on people's minds.
Exactly. So, I mean, just in a little bit of self-assessment, introspection here. You got to practice that every now and then. Think about where you're feeling things, what you're feeling, and likely the case is if you're not doing a resistance training routine, you probably need to start doing that. But if you are, there's ways to support and grow so that the movement pains are either diminished or completely removed, right? So your quality of life can improve.
Yeah. Well, and I guess a whole nother thing is most people don't start to think about maybe I need to go to the gym or do resistance training until that little ache has started. And so, yeah, it can do so much for building your resilience. And then 20 years down the road, you won't necessarily have to go and see a doctor about the knee that's bothering you that eventually you have to have surgery for. Yeah. That's all too common.
Man, I mean, I kind of feel like a broken record here, but it's true. At the end of the day, you just need to do resistance training. Yeah. I mean, not even hypertrophy training. I mean, just understanding resistance training is important. Being active and intentional and creating that in resistance training and putting that into your lifestyle and maintaining that lifestyle goes so far in improving your quality of life and your longevity and your health and just everything. It's literally all benefits, you know?
Yeah. I think the last good thing to end on is we're talking about motor control. That was like the third piece of the puzzle.
In terms of the movement pain stuff?
Yeah. I can tell very quickly from watching somebody for a pretty short period of time whether or not they are going to eventually be facing an injury because of the way that they are moving. And people tend to neglect this a lot and don't feel like, why do I need to go to the gym? Like, okay, I get it that it's good for me. Like, building muscle is great, but movement literacy is so important. Like, no, you don't feel pain right now, but that's just a problem waiting to happen. And you have created motor pathways in your brain that thinks that moving that way is fine.
Yeah.
And you need to retrain that.
I think that's a good spot to end on.
Yeah. All right. Subscribe to the podcast. Leave us a review, please. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook at Review Wellness. You can find me on Instagram at Sierra Meacham. Live Fit. Where can they find you, Reed?
It's a good question. I'm pretty sure you could just look at my name. It's Reed Hammond on Instagram.
Hammond,
so
easy.
And if it's got my face on it, it might be me.
All right, guys. This is the Riverview Wellness Podcast, empowering individuals to live and move well.